everyone, it's time to settle in for a journey back through the sands of time. Dim the lights, grab a blanket, maybe light a candle for that soft, flickering glow. If you're like me and love diving into history's mysteries, hit that like button and let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from. Tonight, we're stepping into the dazzling, sun-scorched world of ancient Egypt, a place where a single river carved a civilization out of an unforgiving desert. Forget the Hollywood mummies and golden treasures for a sec. The real story is so much wilder, grittier, and more human than you might think. Ready? Let's go. Picture this, it's 2500 BCE, and you're standing on the edge of a vast, shimmering desert. The sun is a relentless hammer, pounding down with heat so intense it feels like your skin might crack. Sweat beads on your forehead, but there's no shade, just an endless sea of golden dunes stretching to the horizon. The air smells dry, like baked stone, and every breath feels like you're swallowing dust. Sounds miserable, right? But then, you turn your head, and there it is, the Nile River, a ribbon of shimmering blue-green slicing through the wasteland like a miracle. This isn't just a river, it's the heartbeat of an entire civilization. Without it, there's no Egypt, no pharaohs, no pyramids, nothing but sand and silence. The Nile is everything. Its waters don't just quench your thirst, they feed the soil, coaxing lush fields of barley and emmer wheat from land that should be barren. Every year, like clockwork, the river floods, spilling over its banks and leaving behind a thick, black silt that's basically nature's fertilizer. You can almost smell it, earthy, rich, alive. Farmers wade into the muck, their feet sinking into the coal, squelching mud, planting seeds that'll feed cities like Memphis and Thebes. The Nile's rhythm dictates life here: flood, plant, harvest, repeat. Mess that up, and starvation's knocking. But when it works, oh, it's magic. Villages spring up along the banks, their mud brick houses glowing gold in the dawn light, and boats glide across the water, their sails catching the breeze like wings. Speaking of that breeze, let's pause there. Close your eyes and imagine it. You're sitting by the Nile now, the sun still blazing, but a soft wind rolls off the water, brushing your face with a cool, damp kiss. It's a fleeting relief, carrying the faint scent of reeds and fish. In the distance, you hear the hum of life, shouts from a market in Memphis, the clatter of carts, the laughter of kids splashing in the shallows. Thebes might be even louder, its temples buzzing with priests chanting to the gods, their voices mingling with the bleating of goats and the creak of wooden stalls. It's chaotic, vibrant, alive. You can almost taste the dust in the air, kicked up by a passing donkey cart, and feel the grit of sand that somehow gets everywhere, your clothes, your hair, even your food. Oh, let's talk about that sand for a second. You think you know annoyance? Try eating a bowl of lentil stew only to crunch down on a grain of sand that snuck in there. It's like the desert's reminding you who's boss. No matter how careful you are, that fine, powdery grit finds a way into everything. Your bread, your beer, even the folds of your linen tunic. It's a small thing, but it's so relatable, isn't it? Like getting sand in your shoes at the beach, except this is your whole life. And yet, the Egyptians just roll with it, because what else can you do when you're surrounded by a literal ocean of the stuff? Then there's papyrus, the unsung hero of this world. You see those tall, feathery reeds swaying along the Nile's edge? That's papyrus, and it's basically the Swiss Army knife of ancient Egypt. They strip it, pound it, and weave it into everything. Sandals that slap against the dusty ground, baskets for hauling grain, even boats that bob lightly on the river. But the real game changer. They slice the stalks into thin strips, layer them, and press them into sheets for writing. Scrolls of papyrus carry everything from tax records to love poems, from temple rituals to medical advice. Imagine you're a scribe, hunched over in the shade, your reed pen scratching out hieroglyphs on a fresh sheet. That papyrus is your laptop, your notebook, your post-it note all in one. Without it, Egypt's bureaucracy and its stories would grind to a halt. isn't just about surviving the desert or scribbling on reeds. It's about building something eternal, something that screams, "We were here." That's where the real drama kicks in, and trust me, we're just getting started. In the chapters ahead, we're diving deep into the sweat and struggle of building the pyramids, those massive stone giants that still make our jaws drop. We'll walk through the eerie, incense-filled rituals of the afterlife, where every step was a gamble for immortality. And we'll meet the pharaohs, those larger-than-life rulers who were part god, part human, and all ambition. Their world is gritty, dazzling, and sometimes heartbreaking, and it's waiting for us. So, let's linger here a bit longer, soaking in this world of sand and splendor. You're still by the Nile, the water lapping gently at the bank, reflecting the fiery orange of the setting sun. The market's still buzzing in the distance, but it's quieter now, the day's heat giving way to a cooler, star-brick night. You can almost feel the weight of this place, the way every ripple in the river carries centuries of stories. Egypt isn't just a civilization, it's a defiance of the impossible, a people who looked at a desert and said, "We'll make it bloom." And they did, with nothing but a river, some reeds, and a whole lot of grit. Let's step into the dusty, sweaty reality of the people who kept ancient Egypt alive. You're not a pharaoh lounging in a gilded palace or a scribe scribbling on papyrus. No, you're one of the common folk, maybe a farmer ankle-deep in mud or a laborer hauling stone under a sun that feels like it's trying to melt you. Life here, it's no picnic. It's a grind, a relentless cycle of toil and survival, and yet, these ordinary Egyptians were the backbone of a civilization that dazzled the world. Imagine you're up before dawn, the air still cool but already heavy with the promise of heat. You're a farmer, and your world revolves around the Nile's whims. The floodwaters have just receded, leaving behind that rich, black silt that smells like wet earth and possibility. You grab your wooden hoe, its handle worn smooth by years of use, and wade into the fields. The mud squelches between your toes, cool and slick, but it's not as pleasant as it sounds. You're bending over, planting barley or flax, your back screaming with every swing of the hoe. The sun's climbing now, and by midday, it's a furnace. Sweat stings your eyes, and your linen kilt is plastered to your skin. You glance up, squinting against the glare, and see endless rows of crops stretching along the riverbank. This is your life, day in, day out, racing against the seasons to feed your family and pay the tax collectors who'll come knocking for their share. But it's not just the backbreaking work that gets you. The Nile, as life-giving as it is, can be a fickle friend. Most years, the floods come like clockwork, blanketing the fields with that perfect silt. But sometimes, the river betrays you. Too much water, and your crops drown, your mud brick house crumbling into sludge. Too little, and the fields crack under the sun, your harvest withering to dust. Either way, famine's never far off. You pray to Happy, the god of the Nile, offering a few precious onions or a clay figurine at a riverside shrine, but deep down, you know it's a gamble. And let's not sugarcoat it, starvation was real. One bad flood could mean lean months, your kids' ribs showing through their skin, and no safety net to catch you. Then there's the water itself. You're wading in it all day, planting, fishing, or digging irrigation canals to coax every drop to your fields. Sounds refreshing, right? Wrong. That water's a breeding ground for trouble. Ever heard of schistosomiasis? It's a nasty parasitic disease, and it was rampant back then. Tiny worms from snails in the Nile burrow into your skin, setting up shop in your body. You'd feel feverish, weak, your stomach cramping like someone's twisting a knife. And no one's handing out antibiotics in 2000 BCE. You just grit your teeth, maybe visit a healer who chants spells and slaps on a poultice of herbs. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. Add to that the constant threat of infections from cuts, dysentery from bad water, and dental problems from all that gritty bread. Yeah, life expectancy wasn't exactly stellar. If you hit 35, you're practically a village elder. And hygiene? Let's just say it was a work in progress. No plumbing, no soap, no daily showers. You're washing in the Nile, same place where you fish, drink, and, take care of other business. Mud brick houses are cozy but cramped, with dirt floors and maybe a single room for your whole family. Bugs are your roommates, flies, fleas, and lice that love to make themselves at home. Oh, and here's a quirky little fact to chew on. To deal with those lice, a lot of Egyptians just shaved their heads bald. Men, women, kids, everyone's rocking the shiny dome look. It's practical, sure, but also kind of badass. For special occasions, like a festival or a wedding, you'd slap on a wig made of human hair or plant fibers, maybe styled with beads or braids. Imagine getting ready for a party, picking out your best wig like it's a hat. Talk about a vibe. Now, let's shift gears. Maybe you're not a farmer but a laborer, one of the guys building the massive monuments Egypt's famous for. Picture this. You're in a quarry near Memphis, the air thick with dust and the clink of copper chisels. Your job? Hauling limestone blocks that weigh as much as a car. The sun's beating down, no shade in sight, and your shoulders ache from dragging these stones across the desert on wooden sledges. You and your crew pour water on the sand to make it slick, but it's still brutal. Your hands are calloused, your back's in out of pain, and the overseer's shouting to keep the pace. Lunch is a hunk of bread and some onions, maybe a swig of weak beer if you're lucky. You're not a slave. Archaeologists have found evidence of workers' villages with bakeries and even medical care, but this is no cushy gig. You're proud of the work, though. Those blocks you're hauling, they're for a pyramid or a temple, something that'll stand for millennia. That's your sweat, your legacy, etched into stone. But it's not all doom and gloom. Let's talk about the glue that holds this tough life together, community. Egyptians didn't survive this harsh world alone. Villages were tight-knit, like one big, messy family. You're sharing tools with your neighbor, trading some of your barley for their fish, or pitching in to rebuild a house after a flood. Festivals break up the grind, think music, dancing, and boat processions honoring the gods. You're there, clapping along, maybe sneaking a second cup of that fermented barley beer. Even the work itself was communal. Farmers worked fields side by side, singing chants to keep the rhythm. Laborers on big projects lived in camps, joking over dinner about the overseer's bad breath. It's this togetherness that kept people going, a reminder that you're not just surviving, you're building something bigger than yourself. Let's zoom out for a sec. It's easy to get lost in the glamour of pharaohs and golden treasures, but the real MVPs of ancient Egypt were these ordinary folks. Farmers who fed the cities, laborers who stacked stones into wonders, women weaving linen or grinding grain into flour, they were the engine of this civilization. Life was harsh, no question. The sun, the floods, the diseases, they didn't mess around. But these people, they were tougher. They woke up every day, shaved their heads to keep the lice at bay, and got to work. They laughed, they prayed, they helped each other out. And somehow, through all the sweat and struggle, they built a world that still takes our breath away. As the sun sets on your day as a farmer or laborer, you're sitting outside your mud brick house, the air finally cooling. The Nile's a dark mirror now, reflecting the first stars. You're exhausted, your body aching, but there's a quiet pride in knowing your work keeps the village humming. You hear your kids laughing inside, arguing over a game of knucklebones. Life's hard, but it's yours, and you're making it work. How did farmers, laborers, and merchants all fit into one dazzling civilization? Peeling back the curtain on the rules that ran the show, a rigid hierarchy topped by a god-king and a religion so woven into daily life it touched everything from your breakfast to your burial. Let's start at the top, because in ancient Egypt, the top was everything. Picture yourself in the bustling city of Thebes, standing in a crowd, your bare feet sinking into the warm dust. Above you towers the pharaoh, perched on a gilded throne, his linen kilt gleaming white, a double crown of red and white balanced on his head. This guy isn't just a king, he's a living god, the earthly embodiment of Horus, son of Osiris. To you, he's the sun itself, the one who keeps the Nile flowing and the crops growing. His word is law, his will divine. If he says build a pyramid, you build it. If he declares war, you march. You don't question him, because questioning a god. Yeah, that's not a Greek career move. But the pharaoh's not running this show alone. Just below him are the nobles and priests, the VIPs of Egypt. Nobles own huge estates, their villas stuffed with painted furniture and servants fanning them with ostrich feathers. They're the ones collecting taxes, grain, linen, even your neighbor's best goat, and passing it up to the royal court. Priests, though, they're on another level. They're not just holy men, they're the gatekeepers to the gods. Temples are their domain, massive complexes of stone and gold where they perform rituals to keep the universe spinning. These guys are rich, powerful, and connected, whispering in the pharaoh's ear while managing lands that rival noble estates. You, a farmer or laborer, might see them gliding by in a litter, their shaved heads shining in the sun, and feel a mix of awe and resentment. They're untouchable, and you're, well, not. Then come the artisans, skilled folks like potters, jewelers, and sculptors. They're not rolling in wealth, but they've got steady work carving statues or crafting amulets for the elite. Their hands shape the beauty of Egypt, from lotus-shaped goblets to the painted tombs of nobles. Below them, the peasants, the biggest chunk of the population. That's you, maybe, toiling in the fields or hauling stone, your life tied to the Nile's rhythm. You're not at the bottom, though. Slaves, often prisoners of war, are the lowest rung, doing the dirtiest jobs. This hierarchy is like a pyramid itself, the pharaoh's the tip, shining and divine, while the base, people like you, holds it all up. Step out of line, and the whole structure wobbles. Nobody wants that. Now, let's talk about the glue that binds this pyramid together, religion. In ancient Egypt, religion isn't something you do on weekends, it's the air you breathe. Every sunrise, every harvest, every birth or death, it's all tied to the gods. Take Ra, the sun god. Every morning, you see him sail across the sky in his solar boat, bringing light and life. At night, he battles the serpent of chaos, Apep, to rise again. If Ra loses, the world ends. No pressure. Then there's Osiris, god of the underworld, who died and rose again, promising you a shot at eternal life if you play your cards right. His story is huge, murdered by his brother Set, resurrected by his wife Isis. He's the ultimate symbol of hope beyond the grave. You pray to them, to Hathor for love, to Thoth for wisdom, leaving offerings of bread or beer at small shrines in your mud brick home. But it's not just about praying. The whole point of Egyptian religion is Ma'at, the cosmic order that keeps chaos at bay. Ma'at is truth, balance, justice, a way of life. The pharaoh upholds Ma'at by ruling wisely. Priests do it with rituals. You do it by living right, helping your neighbor, and not stealing someone's onions. Mess with Ma'at, and you're inviting disaster, floods, famine, or worse. It's like the universe has a moral compass, and everyone's got to keep it pointing north. Temples are the heart of this effort, where priests perform daily rituals to appease the gods. You can't go inside, those sanctuaries are for the elite, but you feel the weight of their work. If the gods are happy, Egypt thrives. If not, good luck. Speaking of priests, here's a wild detail that'll make you raise an eyebrow. To stay pure enough to serve the gods, priests shaved their entire bodies, head, arms, legs, everything, every 2 days. Yeah, you heard that right. Imagine the dedication. You're up at dawn, scraping your skin sleeping. Why? Because even a single hair could defile a sacred ritual. These guys bathed multiple times a day, wore only the finest linen, and avoided foods like fish that were considered unclean. It's like they were living in a constant state of spiritual high alert, all to keep Ma'at intact. Next time you're annoyed about shaving for a date, just think of those priests and their full-body razor marathons. Religion and hierarchy didn't just loom over you, they shaped every corner of your life. Take marriage. You're a farmer, maybe 15, and your parents have paired you with the potter's daughter. It's not about love, though that might come. It's about alliances, shared work, and kids to help in the fields. Priests might bless the union with chants to Ether, and you'll both wear amulets to ward off evil spirits. Justice. That's tied to Ma'at too. Steal a cow, and you're facing a village council or a noble's court. They'll hear your case, weigh your truth against Ma'at, and maybe fine you or, yikes, cut off your nose if you're a repeat offender. Even death is ruled by this system. Your afterlife depends on living by Ma'at, and the priest's rituals ensure you've got a shot at eternity. From cradle to grave, there's no escaping the gods or the pecking order. Let's linger on that for a moment. You're in a marketplace in Memphis, the air thick with the scent of baked bread and incense. Around you, the hierarchy is on full display. A noble's litter parts the crowd, a priest in spotless linen hurries to the temple, an artisan haggles over a copper tool. You, a peasant, clutch your basket of onions, knowing your place but also your purpose. You're part of something bigger, a cosmic dance where every step matters. The gods are watching, the pharaoh's guiding, and Ma'at holds it all together. It's rigid, sure, but there's a strange comfort in knowing exactly where you stand, like a stone slotted perfectly into a pyramid. But here's the thing, this system wasn't just about control, it was about survival. Egypt's world was precarious, with floods, droughts, and invasions always lurking. Religion gave people a way to make sense of it, a story that said, if we do this right, we'll be okay. The hierarchy, harsh as it was, kept the machine running, grain flowing, temples humming, armies marching. And yet, it's human, too. Priests shaving their bodies, farmers praying over a sick child, even the pharaoh offering incense to Ra. It's all people trying to carve order out of chaos. Doesn't that feel familiar, even now? As the sun dips low, painting the sky with streaks of fire, you're standing outside a temple, hearing the faint chant of priests inside. The air's cooler, carrying the scent of the Nile. You're small in this vast system, but you're connected to the gods, to the pharaoh, to the farmer next door. That's the beauty and the burden of Egypt's rules. What happens when someone dares to bend those rules? We're stepping into the sandals of a woman who didn't just bend them, she rewrote the script entirely. Her name is Hatshepsut, one of Egypt's greatest pharaohs, who ruled not as a queen but as a king in a world that wasn't exactly rolling out the red carpet for women in power. Picture Egypt around 1479 BCE. Thebes is buzzing, its temples gleaming under a sky so blue it hurts your eyes. The pharaoh, Thutmose II, has just died, leaving behind a young son, Thutmose III, who's barely old enough to tie his own kilt. Enter Hatshepsut, the boy's stepmother, and yeah, royal families were complicated. She's the great royal wife, a powerful figure, but her role is supposed to be supporting the new pharaoh, not stealing his spotlight. Except Hatshepsut isn't here to play second fiddle. She's smart, charismatic, and has a vision for Egypt that's bigger than tradition. You can almost see her standing in the palace, her linen gown catching the breeze, her dark eyes calculating. She knows the court is a snake pit, nobles, priests, and advisors all waiting for her to slip. But Hatshepsut, she's not slipping. She's soaring. Here's where things get wild. Instead of ruling as regent for young Thutmose III, Hatshepsut does something unheard of. She declares herself king. Not queen, not regent, king, full stop. This is a seismic move in a society where the pharaoh is Horus incarnate, a male god king. To pull it off, she leans hard into the symbolism. She adopts the full regalia, the kilt, the double crown, even a ceremonial false beard strapped to her chin. Imagine her striding into a temple, the crowd parting, their whispers trailing her like dust. She's got the nerve to call herself His Majesty and takes on titles like King of Upper and Lower Egypt. It's bold, it's risky, and it's genius. By embracing the male image, she's saying, I'm not just ruling, I'm divine, untouchable, and you're going to deal with it. But Hatshepsut doesn't just talk the talk. She walks it, and her reign is a masterclass in leadership. One of her biggest flexes. The trade expedition to Punt, a mysterious land probably along the Red Sea coast. Picture this, you're on a ship, the Nile's current pushing you south, then out to sea. The air smells of salt and cedar, the horizon shimmering with heat. Hatshepsut's fleet sails for months, loaded with soldiers, scribes, and diplomats. When they reach Punt, it's like striking gold. They come back with heaps of myrrh, ebony, ivory, even live frankincense trees. Imagine the scent of those resins wafting through Thebes. The markets buzz with exotic goods, and Egypt's coffers swell. This isn't just a trade mission, it's a statement. Hatshepsut's showing the world, and her doubters, that she can deliver prosperity like no one else. You can almost hear the nobles grumbling, forced to admit she's killing it. Now, let's zoom in on her crowning achievement, the moment that cements her legacy, her mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahri. If you've ever seen a picture of this place, you know it's jaw-dropping. Nestled against a sheer cliff west of the Nile, it's a masterpiece of architecture, all clean lines and golden stone that glows in the sunlight. You're walking up its ramps, the air thick with the scent of lotus flowers and incense. Colonnades stretch like arms, embracing statues of Hatshepsut as Osiris, her face serene but commanding. The walls are carved with stories, her divine birth, her Punt expedition, etched so deep they're shouting her greatness to eternity. Building this wasn't just about ego, it was strategy. Every stone says, I am king, chosen by the gods, and my reign will outlast your whispers. It's her love letter to Egypt, her defiance of a world that said a woman couldn't rule. But let's not kid ourselves, her path wasn't all smooth sailing. The court was a maze of egos and agendas. Priests wanted influence, nobles wanted power, and young Thutmose III was growing up, his advisors itching to push him forward. Hatshepsut had to be a diplomat, a performer, a chess master. She leaned on loyal allies, like her architect Senenmut, and played up her divine connection, claiming the god Ammonius himself chose her. You can imagine her at a festival, offering gold to the temples, her every move calculated to keep the priests on her side. She wasn't just ruling, she was surviving, threading a needle in a world that could have unraveled her at any moment. And yet, for nearly 2 decades, she held it together, steering Egypt through a golden age of trade, art, and stability. Let's pause here, because this is where Hatshepsut's story hits you in the gut. She wasn't just a ruler, she was a woman who saw a glass ceiling and smashed it with a scepter. Think about it, in a society obsessed with tradition, where Ma'at meant keeping things as they were, she redefined what a pharaoh could be. She didn't just navigate challenges, she turned them into opportunities, building a legacy that still stands, literally, at Deir el-Bahri. But there's a bittersweet edge. After her death, Thutmose III or his successors tried to erase her, chiseling her name from monuments. Why? Maybe jealousy, maybe politics. Yet her temple endured, her story whispering through the ages, proving you can't erase someone who burned that bright. As the sun sets over Thebes, you're standing at Deir el-Bahri, the temple's columns casting long shadows across the valley. The Nile glitters in the distance, a lifeline that carry Hatshepsut's ships to Punt and her dreams to eternity. You can almost feel her presence, a woman who stood tall in a man's world, her ambition a fire that warmed Egypt and scorched her enemies. Her story isn't just about power, it's about courage, about daring to be more than the world expects. Doesn't that spark something in you, even now? If there's one thing that screams ancient Egypt louder than anything else, it's the pyramids, those colossal stone giants that defy time itself. We're traveling back to the Old Kingdom, around 2600 BCE, to the dusty plateau of Giza, where the Great Pyramid rose from the desert like a dream made solid. This isn't just a story of stone and sweat, it's about human grit, ingenuity, and a civilization's obsession with eternity. Picture yourself on the Giza Plateau, the Nile glinting in the distance under a merciless sun. The air is thick with dust, the kind that coats your throat and stings your eyes. All around you, the desert stretches, flat and unforgiving, except for one thing, a mountain of stone rising before you, the Great Pyramid, still under construction. It's massive, mind-boggling, even half-built, 2.3 million limestone blocks, each weighing as much as a pickup truck, stacked with a precision that would make a modern engineer sweat. You're not just gawking, though. You're one of the workers, a skilled laborer, and your day is about to get real. Forget the old Hollywood myth of wood-cracking overseers and chained slaves. The truth. It's more complicated, more human, and way more impressive. Let's start with the work itself, because holy cow, it's intense. Your morning begins at the quarry, a few miles away, where the air rings with the clink of copper chisels and the grunts of your crew. You're hacking into limestone beds, your hands blistered, your shoulders screaming as you shape blocks so precise they'll fit like puzzle pieces. Some blocks, especially the granite for the inner chambers, come from Aswan, 500 miles south, floated down the Nile on barges. You're not touching those yet. Right now, you're at the quarry, prying out a block with wooden wedges and levers, the stone's edges sharp enough to slice your palm if you're careless. It's hot, the sun a hammer overhead, and sweat soaks your linen kilt. You take a swig of water from a clay jar, but it's warm and gritty. No coffee breaks here, just a quick bite of bread and onions before you're back at it. Once the block's cut, the real fun begins, moving it. You and your team wrestle it onto a wooden sledge, a kind of giant sled that creaks under the weight. Ropes bite into your hands as you pull, your feet slipping in the sand. To make it easier, someone pours water on the ground, turning the sand slick like a makeshift highway. You're chanting with your crew, a rhythmic heave. Oh, to keep the pace, your muscles burning as the block inches toward the pyramid. It's not just brute strength, it's teamwork, timing, and trust. One wrong move, and that block could crush a foot or worse. Some blocks go up ramps, long, sloping paths of mud and stone that snake around the pyramid's sides. You're hauling, pushing, cursing under your breath, but there's a strange pride in it. This stone. It's part of something that'll outlast you, your kids, maybe time itself. Now, let's talk about placing those blocks, because this is where Egypt's genius shines. You're at the pyramid's base, or maybe halfway up, guiding a block into place. The precision is unreal, gaps so tight you can't slip a piece of papyrus between them. How? You're using simple tools, plumb bobs, levels, and a lot of know-how. Your crew's got guys who've studied the stars, aligning the pyramid sides to true north with an accuracy that's spooky. You're not just stacking rocks, you're building a geometric marvel, a stairway to the gods. The higher you go, the trickier it gets, narrower ramps, heavier stakes. One worker, maybe your buddy from the village, jokes about how the pharaoh better appreciate this. You laugh, but it's gallows humor. A fall from up here. No one's walking away. So, who are you, exactly? Let's bust that slave myth right now. Archaeologists have dug up the truth, and it's not what you'd expect. You're likely a skilled laborer, part of a rotating workforce drawn from villages across Egypt. You're not chained, you're paid in grain, beer, and cloth, the currency of the day. You live in a workers' village nearby, a sprawl of mud brick houses with bakeries, breweries, even a fish processing area that smells as bad as you'd imagine. Your wife and kids might be back home, or maybe they're here, helping with smaller tasks. If you get hurt, and you will, with all this heavy lifting, there's a medical team. Excavations have found bones with healed fractures, even signs of brain surgery. Brain surgery. In 2600 BCE. You're not disposable, you're valued, part of a national project that's as much about pride as it is about the pharaoh's ego. Life in the village isn't glamorous, but it's not a prison either. After a long day, you're sitting around a fire, the air cooling as the stars come out. Your crew's passing around a jug of barley beer, swapping stories about the overseer's latest tantrum or the time a sledge got stuck in the sand. Dinner's bread, dried fish, maybe some lentils, though you're picking out the inevitable grit. You're sore, your hands raw, but there's camaraderie here, a sense of purpose. You're building the Great Pyramid, Khufu's horizon, a tomb to launch a pharaoh into the afterlife. It's not just a job, it's a legacy, one you'll tell your grandkids about if you make it that far. But let's not romanticize it. The human cost was real. You're working 10-hour days, 6 days a week, for years. The Great Pyramid took maybe 20 years to build, and thousands of workers, estimates range from 20,000 to 100,000, poured their lives into it. Injuries were common, crushed fingers, broken bones, spines worn down from hauling. Each stroke was a killer, and accidents happened. A loose block, a collapsing ramp, death could come fast. Even the healthy didn't always last long. Poor nutrition and disease meant many didn't see 40. You're giving everything, your strength, your years, maybe your life, for a monument you'll never see finished. It's a sacrifice, plain and simple. Yet, standing back, you can't help but feel the awe. The Great Pyramid isn't just a tomb, it's Egypt's ambition made stone. It's a flex to the gods, a middle finger to mortality. Every block you hauled, every drop of sweat, was for something bigger than you, a civilization saying, we can do the impossible. And they did. The pyramid's still there, 4,500 years later, while empires have crumbled and cities turned to dust. You, the worker, made that happen. Not the pharaoh, not the priests, you and your crew, with nothing but muscle, math, and stubbornness. As the sun dips below the horizon, you're leaning against the half-finished ramp, the pyramid's shadow stretching across the plateau. The Nile's a silver thread in the distance, and the air's finally cool, carrying the faint scent of baked earth. You're exhausted, but you look up at the pyramid, its limestone casing gleaming like a beacon. It's not done, but it's yours, a piece of eternity you helped shape. Doesn't that hit you right in the chest? The idea that ordinary people, with calloused hands and tired backs, built something that still makes the world gasp. Those pyramids weren't just monuments, they were launch pads for the soul, gateways to a world beyond death. We're stepping into the shadowy, sacred realm of ancient Egyptian afterlife beliefs, where every ritual, every spell, was a desperate bid for eternity. This is a story of mummies, magic, and a journey to a paradise called the Field of Reeds. Imagine you're in ancient Egypt, standing in a dimly lit chamber, the air heavy with the scent of myrrh and resin. Death wasn't the end here, it was a doorway, but only if you played your cards right. The Egyptians believed your soul, your Ka, Ba, and Ak had to navigate a perilous journey to reach the Field of Reeds, a lush, eternal version of Egypt where you'd farm, feast, and live forever under a perfect sun. Sounds nice, right? But getting there was no cakewalk. You had to face demons, cross a fiery lake, and, worst of all, stand trial before Osiris, the god of the underworld. Your heart would be weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the embodiment of truth and order. If it balanced, you were golden. If it didn't, your soul was devoured by Hammett, a monster with a crocodile's head and a lion's hunger. No pressure or anything. To even have a shot at this, your body had to be preserved, and your mummification, the ultimate act of hope against decay. Let's walk through it, because it's equal parts science and sacred ritual. You've just passed away, and your family's brought your body to the embalmer's workshop, a place that smells like salt, herbs, and something faintly metallic. The process takes 70 days, and it's not for the faint of heart. First, the embalmers, who are part priest, part surgeon, get to work with their bronze tools. They make a careful incision along your side and remove your organs, liver, lungs, stomach, intestines, because those would rot fastest. Each one's cleaned, wrapped, and stored in canopic jars, guarded by gods like Imsidi and Happy. Your brain. They pull it out through your nose with a hook tool, because, well, they didn't think it was all that important. Harsh, but true. Next comes the drying. Your body's packed with natron, a natural salt from the desert that sucks out every drop of moisture. For 40 days, you're lying there, covered in this gritty, white powder, the air around you sharp with its briny scent. Your skin shrinks, your features sharpen, but you're still you, just a little less juicy. After that, the embalmers rinse you off and start the wrapping. They use hundreds of yards of linen, each strip carefully layered, sometimes with amulets tucked between for protection. Resin's brushed on to glue it all together, and the whole process is a prayer, a chant to keep your soul tethered. By the end, you're a mummy, your body a time capsule, ready for eternity. The embalmers step back, their hands sticky, their work a bridge between this world and the next. But here's where it gets really interesting, and a bit weird. To pass that weighing of the heart ceremony, you needed a little extra help. Enter the heart scarab, a detail so cool it feels like it belongs in a fantasy novel. This was a carved stone, usually green jasper or faience, shaped like a beetle and inscribed with spells from the Book of the Dead. They'd place it over your heart, right there in the mummy wrappings, like a magical cheat code. The spell, Chapter 30b, if you're curious, basically begged your heart not to snitch on you. It went something like, "Oh heart, do not speak against me before Osiris." Why? Because your heart knew every lie, every time you skimped on Ma'at, and it could tip the scales to doom. Imagine the stakes, your eternal fate hinging on a bug-shaped rock. That's Egyptian logic, practical, poetic, and just a touch bizarre. These beliefs didn't just shape death, they shaped life. Walk into any tomb, and you're hit with it, walls painted with scenes of the deceased fishing, feasting, or sailing through the field of reeds. You're seeing their hopes, their version of forever. Artisans spent years carving these scenes, their chisels tapping out prayers in stone. Even the poorest Egyptians wanted in, maybe not a grand tomb, but a simple burial with a few spells scratched on papyrus. The Book of the Dead, a guide to the afterlife, wasn't just for pharaohs. Regular folks saved up for their own copy, like buying insurance for your soul. You can almost feel the urgency, the way every statue, every amulet, was a shout against oblivion. Let's zoom out for a second. This obsession with the afterlife wasn't just about fear, it was about love, for life, for Egypt, for the idea that you could keep going. Temples, pyramids, even mummies were all part of the same dream, to make the temporary eternal. Priests chanted spells to guide your soul, families left offerings of bread and beer at your tomb. It's like the whole culture was a giant, collective effort to cheat death. And in a way, they did. We're still talking about them, aren't we? Their art, their stories, their mummies, they're still here, whispering across millennia. Picture yourself now, standing in a tomb's antechamber, the air cool and musty, the walls alive with painted gods and spells. A sarcophagus sits in the center, its stone lid carved with a serene face, maybe yours in another life. You can almost hear the distant echo of priests' chants, smell the faint trace of natron and resin lingering in the air. This isn't just a grave, it's a launch pad, a place where a soul begins its journey to the stars. The heart scarab, tucked inside those linen wrappings, is a quiet promise. You've got a shot at forever if you lived right, if Maya was your guide. But there's something humbling here, too. All this effort, the mummification, the spells, the tombs, was a gamble. What if the scales didn't balance? What if eternity wasn't what you hoped? It's a reminder that the Egyptians, for all their grandeur, were just like us, wrestling with the unknown, clinging to hope, trying to make their mark before the end. Doesn't that hit you right in the heart, as you lie there under the covers, the night stretching out quiet and fast? The Egyptians didn't just dream of the afterlife, they built a world that reshaped the living one, too. We're diving into their genius, the innovations that turned a desert civilization into a powerhouse of human progress. From math to medicine, from hieroglyphs to jaw-dropping architecture, their ideas still echo in our world. Picture yourself in Memphis, around 2500 BCE, standing in a bustling scribal school. The air smells of papyrus and ink, and you're surrounded by young men scratching away with reed pens, their faces scrunched in concentration. These guys aren't just learning to write, they're mastering the tools of a civilization that ran like a well-oiled machine. Let's start with mathematics, because the Egyptians were number-crunching rock stars. They used a base 10 system, sound familiar, with symbols for ones, tens, hundreds, all the way up to millions. You're a scribe, maybe, calculating the grain needed to feed a pyramid workforce or the angles for a temple's walls. Their math wasn't just practical, it was precise. They nailed pi to 3.16, not bad for folks without calculators, and used fractions to divvy up land after Nile floods. This wasn't abstract stuff, it kept Egypt fed, built, and thriving. Now, tilt your head to the stars. Astronomy was another Egyptian superpower. You're out at night, the desert air crisp, the sky a blanket of glittering lights. Priests are tracking the stars, not for fun but for survival. They mapped constellations and pegged the year at 365 days, creating one of the earliest solar calendars. That calendar told farmers when to plant, priests when to hold festivals, and pharaohs when to expect the Nile's flood. They even aligned the Great Pyramid to true north, using star sightings with an accuracy that's frankly spooky. You can almost feel the weight of those observations, the way they tethered Egypt's chaos to the cosmos. Then there's medicine, and trust me, this one's a game changer. You're in a healer's hut, the air thick with the scent of herbs and honey. The Egyptians didn't just pray away sickness, they got practical. Texts like the Ebers Papyrus, written around 1550 BCE, list hundreds of remedies, from willow bark for pain, aloe, ancient aspirin, to garlic for infections. They set broken bones, stitched wounds, and even performed surgeries, like draining abscesses or, get this, trepanning skulls to relieve pressure. Their tools: bronze scalpels, tweezers, and a lot of nerve. They knew about pulse rates, diagnosed diabetes by urine sweetness, and used moldy bread for wounds, a nod to antibiotics millennia before penicillin. You're lying there, a laborer with a busted arm, and the healer's chanting spells but also splinting your bone like a pro. Magic and science, hand in hand, that's Egypt. But let's talk about their real showstoppers, hieroglyphics and architecture. Hieroglyphs weren't just pretty pictures, they were a writing system that captured a civilization's soul. You're a scribe again, your reed pen dancing across papyrus, carving out symbols of birds, eyes, and snakes. Each one's a word, a sound, or an idea, blending art and language into something eternal. Hieroglyphs recorded everything: taxes, treaties, poems, even the pharaoh's divine birth. They covered temple walls, obelisks, even tiny amulets, shouting Egypt's story to the gods and the future. This system was so influential that later civilizations, like the Greeks, borrowed its vibe for their own alphabets. Without hieroglyphs, Egypt's voice might have faded, but instead, it's still singing. And architecture? Oh, it's the stuff of legends. You're standing before the Great Pyramid again, its limestone casing gleaming like a second sun. Or Maybe you're at Karnak, its massive columns rising like a forest of stone, each one carved with stories of gods and kings. The Egyptians didn't just build big, they built smart. They mastered ramps, levers, and geometry to stack stones with precision we still can't fully crack. Their temples and tombs influenced Greece's Parthenon, Rome's arches, even modern skyscrapers. You can almost hear the chisels, the shouts of workers, the hum of a culture that said, "We'll build things that outlast time." And they did. Those stones are still standing, daring us to match their ambition. Now, let's fast forward to the present, because Egypt's legacy didn't stop with its fall. You're in a museum, maybe the British Museum or the Met, staring at the Rosetta Stone, that cracked slab of granite that unlocked hieroglyphs in 1822. Its discovery, thanks to Napoleon's soldiers and a genius named Champollion, sparked Egyptology, a fever that's never cold. Or picture 1922, when Howard Carter cracked open Tutankhamun's tomb, the air thick with dust and gold, revealing a boy king's treasures to a world that gasped. These moments weren't just finds, they were bridges, linking us to a civilization that still feels alive. Movies, books, even video games, they all lean on Egypt's mystique, from Cleopatra's eyeliner to Anubis's jackal head. You've felt it, haven't you? That pull when you see a mummy exhibit, like you're touching something timeless. But let's get to the heart of it. Egypt's innovations weren't just cool tricks, they were foundational. Their math shaped our numbers, their astronomy our calendars, their medicine our hospitals. Hieroglyphs gave us the idea that stories could live forever, and their architecture taught us to dream big. You're walking through a modern city, past a bank with columns or an obelisk in a park, and that's Egypt, whispering through the ages. They didn't just build a civilization, they laid bricks for human progress, ideas that carried to Greece, Rome, and straight to us. It's like they handed us a toolkit and said, "Go make something great." As you sit there, the night quiet around you, imagine you're back by the Nile, the water lapping softly, the stars above as bright as they were 4,000 years ago. You're holding a piece of papyrus, maybe a scribbled note from a scribe who calculated a pyramid slope or a healer's recipe for a salve. That's the legacy, not just the monuments, but the minds that made them. The Egyptians didn't have computers or microscopes, but they had curiosity, grit, and a hunger to understand the world. Doesn't that feel like a spark we still carry, every time we solve a problem or dream something new? Egypt's story doesn't end with its pharaohs or its tombs, it lives on, whispering in our world today. We're wrapping up with a reflection on why this ancient civilization still captivates us, from museum halls to movie screens. Picture yourself in a modern city, maybe London, New York, or Paris. You're walking through a busy square, and there it is, an obelisk, tall and carved, standing like a silent guest from another time. These needle-like monuments, plucked from Egypt's temples, dot cities worldwide, Cleopatra's Needle in London, the Luxor obelisk in Paris. They're not just relics, they're proof of Egypt's pull, a magnet for our fascination. Or maybe you're in a museum, the air cool and hushed, standing before Tutankhamun's golden mask. Its eyes, inlaid with lapis and obsidian, seem to stare right through you, as if the boy king's still watching. You've felt this, haven't you? That shiver when you see a mummy or a scarab, like you're brushing against eternity. Egypt's allure is everywhere. Turn on a movie, and there's the mummy, with its sand-swept tombs and cursed treasures, or Indiana Jones raiding a pyramid. Flip through a book, and you'll find Cleopatra's drama or Anubis's jackal-headed menace. Video games let you wander virtual Niles, dodging crocodiles or decoding hieroglyphs. Even fashion, those winged eyeliner looks or scarab-inspired jewelry, nods to Egypt's aesthetic. It's like the civilization never left, it just slipped into our culture, as natural as the Nile's flow. Why? Because Egypt tapped into something universal, the human drive to create, to worship, to chase immortality. Their art, their gods, their towering monuments, they're all shouts against the void, a refusal to be forgotten. let's dig into that drive, because it's the heartbeat of Egypt's legacy. You're standing before the Great Pyramid, its stones worn but unyielding, or gazing at Hatshepsut's temple, its columns still proud against the cliffs. These weren't just buildings, they were dreams made solid, proof that humans could defy time. The Egyptians painted their tombs with scenes of feasting and fishing, not just to decorate but to ensure those joys lasted forever. They worshipped Ra and Osiris, weaving stories to make sense of the sun's rise and the soul's journey. Every statue, every obelisk, every carefully wrapped mummy was a bet on eternity, a bet we're still making today. Think about it, our skyscrapers, our art, even the photos we post online, are we so different, trying to leave a mark that outlasts us? This drive isn't just about ego, it's about connection. The Egyptians built for their gods, their pharaohs, their people, linking the living to the divine and the dead to the stars. You see it in the communal effort of pyramid construction, the shared prayers for a good flood, the artisans carving for generations they'd never meet. It's a reminder that our deepest urges, to create, to believe, to endure, tie us to those ancient souls. You're lying there, the night soft around you, and maybe you're thinking about your own legacy, the things you'll leave behind. Egypt's story says it matters, that every effort, every dream, is a thread in the human tapestry. Now, let's connect this to today's world, because Egypt's echoes aren't just in museums or movies, they're in us. The Rosetta Stone, cracked open in 1822, didn't just unlock hieroglyphs, it sparked a global obsession with Egyptology, a hunger to know more. Howard Carter's 1922 discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb turned that hunger into a fever, with newspapers screaming about gold and curses. Those moments weren't just history, they were mirrors, showing us how much we crave stories of the past. Every exhibit, every documentary, every kid sketching a pyramid in art class, it's all part of Egypt's long shadow, proof that their drive to be remembered worked. As we close, let's paint one final picture, a soothing image to carry you into sleep. You're standing by the Nile at dusk, the water a shimmering mirror of fading light. The desert stretches around you, its sands cooling, settling into a quiet, timeless stillness. Palm trees sway gently, their fronds whispering in the breeze. Above, the first stars prick the sky, the same ones that guided Egyptian astronomers, that watched Hatshepsut's ships sail to Punt, that lit the workers' fires at Giza. The air smells of earth and river, and there's a peace here, a sense that the world is holding its breath. This is Egypt, not just the stones or the stories, but the feeling of being part of something vast, something eternal. Reflect on this. The Egyptians faced floods, disease, and the weight of their own ambitions, yet they built a civilization that still sings. Their farmers toiled, their pharaohs dreamed, their scribes wrote, all against the odds. That resilience, that stubborn spark, is ours too. Every time you push through a tough day, create something new, or hold on to hope, you're echoing those ancient lives. We're all part of the same story, reaching across time, building our own pyramids in the sand.